oversight. Nothing dangerous about that whatsoever. As I said in my last hearing, closed-mindedness is a real problem for a lot of the issues we face today. I won't need to, should have entered in the record the Reuters article from March 7, 2018, describing in the letter from Senators Klobuchar and Shaheen. Also into the record, the March 27, 2019 press release and letter from Senators Klobuchar, Warner, Reed, and Peters, which, let me just read a segment from that letter again. The integrity, this is Senator Peters joining and writing this letter. The integrity of our elections remain under serious threat. Our nation's intelligence agencies continue to raise the alarm that foreign adversaries are actively trying to undermine our system of democracy and will target the 2020 elections as they did in 2016 and the 2018 elections. A combination of older legacy machines and newer systems, vulnerabilities in each present a problem for the security of our democracy, and they must be addressed until, I guess right now, let's move on. Let's not worry about this, because if we look at this, it's dangerous to our democracy. Okay. Also, the December 6, 2019 letters written by Senators Warren, Klobuchar, Wyden, and Congressman Pocan to those same equipment manufacturers. I would also like to enter the responses from Dominion and Hart to the March 27th letter, but the ranking member's staff had objections. Do you object to that? The responses? Okay, so we'll enter those in the record. And finally, there's a really interesting article recently written by Matt Taibbi, who, again, I don't know his political affiliation. Seems to be a pretty straight-up reporter, the things I read of him, but if I were to guess, and no offense, Mr. Taibbi, I think you might be a little bit left of center, but the title is "The YouTube Ban is Un-American, Wrong, and Will Backfire. Silicon Valley couldn't have designed a better way to further radicalize Trump voters." And the reason I want to enter this in this article in the record, I really hope people read it, because it really speaks to an awful lot that I covered in my opening statement of why we're in this unsustainable state of affairs in this country, where after 2016, 4 years of resistance, failing to recognize, refusing to recognize the legitimacy of that election, and here we are again. This is not sustainable. But anyway, again, I want to welcome the witnesses. It is the tradition of this committee to swear in witnesses, so those via WebEx, if you raise your right hand, you here in person, please rise. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated. So our first witness is coming via WebEx, Judge Kenneth Starr. Judge Starr served as a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals from 1983 to 1989. Mr. Starr has argued 36 cases before the Supreme Court, including 25 cases during his service as Solicitor General of the United States from 1989 to 1993. From 1994 to 1999, he was appointed to serve as independent counsel for 5 investigations.
Doing the Lord's Prayer, first in the Hebrew, then in the English.
In academia,
Abanawa,
and continues to write
Shabbat
articles
Shemayim,
and serve as a guest commentator on a variety of media programs. Judge Starr.
Shamka, Yahweh.
Well, thank you,
Malak
Mr.
Wapka,
Chairman and Ranking
Taba'a,
Member Peters, and members of the committee. It's an honor to be with you, even remotely.
Aisha,
Over a century ago, the Supreme Court of the United States wrote this: the right to vote is a fundamental political right, preservative of all rights. And over our 231 years as a constitutional democracy, the story of our American experience is in no small part a story of expansion and inclusion. And that policy has been undergirded by a desire to achieve dignity and equality of all persons. In the wake of the Civil War, very briefly, our constitutional history in terms of amendments voting. The 15th Amendment served as the capstone of the 3 post-Civil War amendments, which, taken together, abolished slavery, guaranteed due process and equal protection to all persons, and then
thy kingdom
expanding
come,
the right
thy will
to
be done
participate to all persons.
in earth as it is in heaven.
With the franchise
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
And finally, in the wake of the Vietnam War, the expansion of the vote in federal elections to include 18-year-olds, the 26th Amendment, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kosha, along the way,
Nathan Lanawa,
Congress acted to foster the values of the 15th Amendment through the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1964 with its extension of time. Now, underlying this story of ever-expanding voting rights was an assumption that is one of integrity in the process. Recall the scene in the wonderful movie Selma, as the would-be voter portrayed by Oprah Winfrey was unconscionably stymied in her effort simply to register to vote. Dishonesty caused disenfranchisement and enormous moral outrage. The flip side of racially motivated disenfranchisement is the bedrock concept.
Lord, in the name
treat everyone fairly
of Jesus, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the leper, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out in the name of Jesus. Thank you. So be it.
About the dangers and the corrosive effects of dishonesty. Here's what a unanimous Supreme Court wrote in 2006.
Yahweh,
confidence in the integrity of our electoral processes is essential to the function of our participatory democracy. And the court went on to say, voter fraud drives honest citizens out of the democratic process and breeds distrust of our form of government. So how do we achieve honesty and integrity in an election? It's a challenge for the reason the chairman suggested, decentralization. We have national elections, but we do not have a nationalized election with one set of rules.
And the school.
Both Article 1 and Article 2 point out the approach of our decentralized government, and that
in the name of Jesus.
We look to the states, but specifically state legislatures. Both Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution and Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. And so, as in much of life, the guardrails of integrity are needed, and time and again, courts have warned in the strongest terms that assuring honesty and integrity is a compellingly important governmental interest. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, now retired, who herself had been elected to state office in Arizona, specifically warned that judicial intervention may be required in order to protect the integrity of the election process. And so, as we'll be exploring in this hearing, the presidential election 2020, with its unprecedented feature of the use of mail-in
tonight
has given rise to a number of questions that
the
deserve
opening,
to be answered. I will,
not the opening.
tonight,
To
examples such as in
we
Pennsylvania,
celebrate
where there was a clear
the beginning of
violation
the feast.
law,
It's like
and
the
then
memorial
same
blowing
as
of trumpets.
Samuel Alito, since my time has now expired. I want to close just by a reminder that in history,
like all the high holy days started. Of course, we'll be coming from Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. To start off with that, we're coming from Leviticus, the 23rd chapter.
So I think in the
right,
spirit of
and these are this is where you find the high holy days, that are Sabbaths that are commanded by the Most High for us to keep. Right, and each of them are different. Right,
that bedrock factor and feature of integrity.
Each of them have different requirements and are there for different meanings. All right, so
look forward to your questions.
Those are things we're gonna go over tonight in class. Not only the meanings that they had
Commissioner Palmer was confirmed to the election
when we first got them, when they were first instituted, but what they mean today.
Palmer is the former secretary of the Virginia State Board of Elections.
So for tonight, we're starting off at Leviticus, 23rd chapter. We'll start in the first verse.
He also served as an intelligence officer and a judge advocate general. Commissioner Palmer.
Wayadabar, Yahweh,
Good morning, Chairman Johnson and members of the committee.
La'amar.
The ranking member.
Verse 2.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to testify
Jabbar.
before you this morning on the 2020 general election
Banya.
and the efforts of the Election
Yasharala.
Assistance Commission to secure the nation's voting systems. Election officials, the commissioners, and
Amar.
the staff of the EAC have a duty to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the voting systems used throughout the nation. Our mission is to support the chief election officials, the directors of elections and administrators in all localities across the country. As the only federal agency completely dedicated to election administration, the EAC is charged with facilitating secure, lawful, and accessible elections. Under the America Vote Act, the EAC is focused on assisting state and local election officials. We are a bipartisan agency that recognizes the authority of states to conduct federal elections, and that is a cornerstone of our representative democracy. The general election has underscored the vital importance of comprehensive oversight of voting technology and the companies who manufacture these systems. That oversight is an overlapping process of voluntary vote federal standards, state certification or approval, and local logic and accuracy testing prior to each election. We work to bolster confidence in democracy by adopting voluntary voting system guidelines periodically. We test voting systems, we accredit test laboratories, and serve as a national clearinghouse of information on election administration. Let me be clear. The EAC has confidence in the voting systems we certify, and in the state and local election administrators who ran the election. First and foremost, that's due to the process the voting system manufacturers must undergo to receive federal certification. Before voting machines and election management systems are used in elections, the systems undergo rigorous hardware and software testing by laboratories accredited by the EAC, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST.
Verse 24.
There are currently 2 accredited voting system laboratories, ProV&B and
SLI. Banya.
Currently,
Yasharala.
EAC's quality monitoring program includes auditing voting system test laboratories and manufacturing facilities, conducting field reviews of EAC-certified voting systems, and gathering information on voting system anomalies on EAC-certified voting systems. I strongly support additional auditing, additional field reviews, and resolutions of any anomalies discovered. To apply for EAC certification of a voting system, a company must first apply to register with the agency as a registered manufacturer. Registration requires manufacturers to provide details on their ownership structure, names of officers, members of the board of directors, and any individual or organization with a controlling interest in the company. Additionally, a list of all manufacturing or assembly facilities used by the manufacturer and the name and contact information of the person at each facility responsible for quality management must be provided. There are currently 8 active manufacturers registered with the EAC's testing program. Please note it is not a requirement to be an EAC registered manufacturer to develop and sell voting systems to jurisdictions in the United States. It's a voluntary program. Joining the program requires the manufacturers voluntarily agree to the program's requirements as outlined in the program manual. Requirements include complying with all EAC inquiries and investigations into the uses and status of fielded EAC certified systems. Under our quality monitoring program, these investigations may arise due to technical failures experienced in the field by election administrators, misrepresentations in regard to the certification status of a voting system, and any deviations in quality in regard to those systems submitted to testing versus what is actually fielded. The EAC staff in Election Day War Room to gather information on issues reported by the media and election officials. 5 of the 8 manufacturers participated in those calls. Additionally, the program is following up with election officials and voting system manufacturers to obtain any information on claims of irregularities reported in the media during the general election. This effort is ongoing. Jurisdictions across the United States also perform a series of logic and accuracy tests prior to operating those voting machines in polling places. We support those efforts through technical assistance and best practices and our grant monies. Election officials conduct post-election audits to verify the completeness and accuracy of the tabulated votes. I want to conclude with stating that we recognize the need to do more than ever to strengthen the confidence and the integrity of our elections. All of us set forth an ambitious agenda for EAC.
Again, it's Leviticus 23rd chapter, starting at the first verse.
Democracy. Despite the challenges in recent years, the EAC has faithfully fulfilled its obligation and even expanded support it provides to election.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
we
verse
look
2,
forward to working with Congress
speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. Right? So this is where the Most High is given to Moses the list of the feasts that he is commanded to be kept throughout the year. All right.
He is currently a partner at the
All right, let's hop down to verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel.
Thank you for the invitation. I've submitted written
saying,
testimony
in the seventh month,
and I'm going to provide
in the first day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets,
thank you. So the
and holy
absentee voting
convocation.
in Wisconsin is treated quite differently,
so-
I believe, than other parts of the country.
right,
Let me
according
read
to
for you
the
what the legislature found
Hebrew
in our
calendar,
statute.
right? This is
It
the
says
seventh month of the year,
finds
right?
that the privilege of
Now-
voting by absentee ballot must be carefully regulated to prevent the potential for fraud or abuse. To
Now,
prevent overzealous solicitation.
you know,
of
we
absent
know what
electors who may
Esau
prefer
says,
not
and
to
then
participate in an election.
we also know what
To prevent
Amalek says,
undue
and they say that
influence
this
on an
is
absent
the
elector to
beginning
vote
of their
for or
new
against
year,
a candidate.
right?
As a consequence, our laws
Well,
are strictly construed, and even
This
more so
and what they
against
celebrate
voting
around
laws.
this time is called
Results which do
they
not
call it Rosh
comply with those
Hashanah, right?
regulations, quote, may not be included in the
which
certified
literally
result of the
translates to
election. So it's
head
very straightforward.
of the
The
year,
state of Wisconsin
right?
has taken a very different view
But what is
of in-person
the
voting
reason
with
it's
all the
called that
protections and absentee voting
is
that has been
because
repeatedly, including in the Carter Commission,
this is
report,
what they
thought to
consider the
be a
beginning
source
of the
significant
holiday season,
potential
right?
for
You'll
fraud.
notice that all the high holy
In
days
Wisconsin, we just completed a recount.
start to come
We had
up
more than
more
2,500
frequently,
volunteers, or
right?
probably more than
And
1,000
they
volunteers for the Biden campaign as well.
after
Uniquely, we are able to examine
believe Tabitha.
actual envelopes
Yeah, well,
that
their
contain
calendars
the ballots that are submitted by
all
absentee
you know
voters.
they
This
change the
allowed us
calendar
to
over time, right?
identify by
And
person,
they call it the head of the
by
year
address,
because
by ward, it's
in
not
the
conspiracy.
area, right?
Real names
This
are
was
in
actually
record.
considered the new year
here's what we
in that
found.
area, in
We
that
found that there were
area of the
incomplete
region.
and altered
It's known as the
certificates. These are
Levant. They call it the
certificates on
Middle East as
front of
well.
the envelope
But in that
that
area of
have
the
to
world,
be
this was
exactly
generally the
done
beginning of
correctly
the
under our law. If not,
of their
those
calendar
results
year,
may not be
right?
counted. How many of those?
But we know
More
that the
than
Most High told us that the beginning of our
3,000
calendar year
of those
started in the spring.
identified by person
Right.
were nonetheless counted.
And
even
so
though they
the
are
Most High says,
clearly invalid under
according to the
law.
calendar of the Most High, this
second
is the
category.
beginning of the seventh
Initials
month,
of
and this is the
clerks are
first day of the
placed on
seventh month,
all of those
right? And it
envelopes.
began
Why?
at sundown.
Because the clerk identifies it having
Right.
been properly
And it
received,
says,
and identification
you shall have a
is
Sabbath,
provided.
a memorial of
That's
the blowing of
check
trumpets,
in advance of
and
the
holy
election. What
convocation.
did we find?
Right. So
More than
this is a holy
2,000
gathering.
of
Right. This
those
is when we
ballots
get
in
together
Dane Milwaukee
and celebrate,
County
and
had
we
no initials at all,
focus on
but nonetheless,
the purpose
they got
of
counted.
the holiday
We
or
also
the
have
high holy
special
day
laws in
or
Wisconsin with regard
the
to
feast,
voting in advance.
you know,
We
or
do not
in this
allow
case a
advance
memorial.
We
Right.
allow in-person and,
Let's keep reading.
and other voting
Verse
as
25.
absentees. So anything before
Ye
election
shall
day
do no
is
servile
under
work
absentee
therein,
rules.
but
What
ye
did
shall
the city of
offer an
Madison
offering
do?
made
They
by
created
fire
a
unto the
system
Lord.
where people could
Right.
arrive
So
at
of course,
a
you know, back
hand in their ballots
we would always
in
offer
envelopes.
offerings in the temple, right?
5
And that's what we were.
weeks
That was
before
the
the
only
election.
duty we
They
were supposed to
also
do.
created boxes. No controls at all.
That
just
we were supposed to
boxes
do
corners
on
that you could
any high
throw
holy
the
day,
ballot in. No
and
attempt
Sabbath
at
included,
all.
right? Any
And our statutes explicitly
any work
say
that we
there are
had to do,
two
right? There
ways to
was
submit an absentee ballot.
you know, you could do work,
In
of course. You can
person
do what you
or
chose to do, but there was no
delivery to the clerk's
servile work to be
That's
done.
it.
All right.
Nothing else is allowed. And yet the city of Madison, we had
No.
28,395.
Well, we, as a people,
17,271 ballots in this category that we identify. There are tens of
celebrate
thousands
this
more
memorial for the
because they
reason why the
commingled
blowing of
ballots
trumpets is something that
afterwards, so we couldn't
because you got to remember each of the high
identify
holy days is
each
supposed to
one
remind us
that
of
may have been
something,
properly cast.
right? We're supposed to
Then we have an
remember
interesting
something on each
category
high
called
holy day,
indefinitely confined.
right? And the memorial of the
People
blowing of
written in
trumpets is
statute,
no
written in the
different.
statute by age,
Now,
physical illness, or infirmity,
we
or
use-
are disabled.
See, nowadays
indefinitely.
trumpets
Among
are
those
just
claiming this status,
considered
right, so
musical
they don't have to
instruments,
provide any
right? They're
identification.
for
Among those
entertainment
claiming this
and
status
therefore, you
is one of
know,
the electors
you know, whatever purposes you want to do to enjoy yourself. But for us as a people, for us as a culture, they had a meaning, they had a significance, right? As you see at the beginning of our Sabbath services, we always blow the trumpet, right?
I can't get to the polls, so they were able to vote without identification.
All right, this would be a trumpet, right? It's also called the
people we explicitly identify. Finally, there are other categories
and
in which as much as
in ancient Hebrew, and it's the shofar in Yiddish, right? But it just means trumpet, right? And what we blew those for were to signify the beginning of feasts, to signify the beginning of
more than 200,000
the month, the new months, you know, when the new moon was spotted, and then we also blew them for war, right? They were when there was a watchman at a gate, right? He didn't just yell or ring a bell or light a fire. Those were things that were done in other cultures, right? In our culture, what they did was they blew certain blasts on the trumpet, right? And
200,000 that were outside
and in other cases, right, they would blow certain blasts to begin different ceremonies and services. It was to make sure that we were alert to something that was information that the entire nation needed to know, right? And while we are celebrating this memorial, we need to remember that we need to be alert because we are at war, right? We've slept too long. We've been in this captivity and gotten complacent, right? This memorial is to understand that you are at war. These trumpets are not just blown for entertainment. They're not just blown for your pleasure, right? They're blown to alert you, right? That's what we do when we out there at camp every Saturday. We're blowing that trumpet, right? We're sounding that alarm to alert our people of the condition that they're in. There's an enemy at our gate, and we need to defend ourselves. And the only way we can do that is by coming together, by joining with each other and under the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Right? There's only one place that's actually doing that, and that is the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana. Right? And since 1969, that has been the only thing that we've been about. You know, the Christian church, you know, they'll tell you they have one reason, but then you'll see that they're actually about all these other different things, right? These fake Israelite groups. Well, we broke off because we had a disagreement. First off, that's cowardice. Second off, you have an ulterior motive. You have another agenda. Because if your agenda was to bring back the lost 12 tribes of Israel, to bring back the lost sheep, then leaving your brothers and sisters would not be what you would have done. Walking out and not settling a disagreement like a man would is not what you would have done, right? So there are ulterior motives for all of these organizations. In here, what we are doing is still sounding that trumpet. There's a reason Commander General Yohana every year invites them to the Passover. Orders, commands, in fact, for them to come to the Passover, sit down with your brothers and talk this out. Right? They're invited to every cookout we have. Right? They're invited to every single thing we do because in here, we remember we're at war and our people need to be united under the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That is the key factor in this, right? This has to be done lawfully. This has to be done under the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, or it won't work. Because we've tried that so many times before. We've tried that, you know, and we've tried to come together and stuck together for a little while under in most of our captivities, right? Nehemiah, he had to drag some out, right? You know, we come out of slavery in this country and you got to drag some people out of their master's house, right? Our people need to come together, and there's always a continual fight, right? Because we always have a different way that we can do things, right? Especially in this country in like what, the 60s and 70s, it was coming together. It was peace and love and being unified with that doesn't work. Right, we need to separate from. Actually, let's go ahead and go straight to the scripture.
Who had the authorization to change and correct that information, and who had access to the system? Any type of system control would ask for that.
All right, going to Zephaniah, the 2nd chapter, first verse.
Open data record site reported 3.1 million ballots sent out.
Book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. See, every other nation has made it abundantly clear who the nation not desired is in this earth. Right? Anytime you look on the TV and see terrorist attack in other countries, you see these bombings and these people being tortured, these people being done wrong. There's always an outcry. There's always international intervention to go in and stop these atrocities towards humanity, except when it's against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. When Obama was sitting in office and those Native Americans were saying, please do not build this pipeline through the graveyard for our forefathers, he sat there and was quiet and let them be sprayed by hoses. It was his Army Corps of Engineers. He could have made them stop. He could have told them to stop. But that president that our people think is so much for them, and he's quote unquote first black president, he didn't do anything for you. Right? What he did was he let your people freeze. He, under his watch, George Zimmerman walked. Right? Not only in Florida, but in the federal case, they had no charges they could put against him, even though that man was recorded saying they always get away with it. Now, the race crimes are federal jurisdiction. He had full jurisdiction over that. They still let him walk away. Why? Because we are the undesired people. Not only is he not our people, but he knows who we are, and he treats us the exact way every other president did. That's why I love Trump so much, because he showed our people exactly what every other president showed them, and he did not lie about it. He was straight out. Every policy he had was the same policy Obama had. And if you look at them from the nuts and bolts, the way that the policy was enacted and the way the policy worked, but he just took that polished face off of it. He showed you who he was, and you hated him for it. But those who lie to you, you love them for it, right? They lie to you in your face and tell you that, oh, you know, they're going to do so much for you and they're going to do great things. Why are they telling you that? And they never do it, and they never have. 2 reasons. 1, because you continue to believe it. 3, because they know if you gather yourselves together, then they are the ones who lose. They are the one on the outside. When you gather yourselves together, you become stronger. When we don't depend on these other nations for these things, and we start to realize the situation, we've become alerted to the fact that we're at war. We've become alerted to the fact that they are our enemy, and we should deal with them as such, right? And we should deal with our brothers and sisters in a way that shows that we understand that they are our brothers and sisters and that they are not our enemy, right? We treat our own people the way we should treat others, right? We look at our people with suspicion just first time we meet them. Right, and why is that? Because that is a tactic of our enemy, to keep us divided, to keep us against each other. And as long as they can keep us against each other, we can't gather together. Right? We can't get out of the situation, and their kingdom lasts. Their kingdom survives simply because we won't gather ourselves together.
Our team began chasing down every lead.
And again, that's what this feast is about. That's what this memorial is about. Right? Most of them are feasts about
over 42,000
and they are talking about victories, right? They're talking about what we've done to overcome something, right? But that's not this. This isn't a feast, right? Of course you can eat. You know what blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, whenever we having to get together, it's going to be some food and it's going to be some drink, right? That's just how we are. But this isn't
and individuals who are registered
just
both
as
under
a
married name
feast. This is a
and maiden name.
memorial, not for
At
a
least
victory we won,
1,500 dead
but to
people are recorded
understand that we are
shown by
still at
comparing the
war.
list of male
To
voters
remind
with
you
the Social Security
every
death records.
once a year,
More
at
than
least every year, that you are
19,000
at
people
war with
voted
these
even
enemies
though they
who
didn't live
have
in Nevada.
possessed you. Like we were just
This
talking
does not
to
include military
we were just
voters
talking yesterday.
or
We were just
students.
talking yesterday to a
These
couple of
voters
our
were
brothers, and
identified
one of
by
them
comparing the
said,
list of voters
"You
with the
ain't
US
slaves."
Postal Service's National Change of
Like you got to
Address,
remind these
among
people.
other sources.
We need a memorial to
About
remind you where
8,000
you
people
at
voted from
and what you
non-existent
and what
addresses.
conditions you in.
Here we
Because you think
cross-reference
because you
voters
on the internet you free.
voting accuracy support systems,
You ain't free.
which allowed our experts to
Right,
identify undeliverable addresses.
It's
Over
when you in the truth, it just
8,000
seems
votes
so
were cast
obvious,
from
right?
commercial
It
or
seems
vacant
so,
addresses.
unquestionable.
Our experts found
Of
these
course
voters by
of course we're
analyzing
not free. Look at
official
everything our
US
people go
Postal Service records
outside of here.
flagged
Not just him. I
non-residential
talked to
addresses
another
and addresses
sister,
vacant for more than 90 days.
and she said racism
Incredibly,
has
almost
never affected me in my
4,000
life.
non-citizens also voted. As
You don't live
their
in the
official
ghetto with a bunch of
DMV
people that look
records
like you and
from
worried about
non-citizens
sending your kids
to
to
the
school.
list of
Like none of that.
actual voters
Well, yeah,
in the 2020
okay, but
election.
see, but
The
the
list goes
racism
on.
hasn't affected you.
All in all,
The situations
our
and
experts
circumstances
identified
your people are in,
130
because of their oppressor,
unique
that hasn't affected you.
instances of
See,
voter
our
fraud
people
in
don't
Nevada.
even realize what's going on,
Actual
and this is
numbers
why
are certainly
trumpets
higher.
need to be
Our
blown.
data scientists
You
use
need an alert. You
calculations,
need
not by estimations or statistical sampling,
an alert
by
to
analyzing
remind
and
you.
comparing the list of
Right, it's an
actual
alarm
voters
clock.
with
Wake
other
up.
lists. Most
Like
of
we
them
are
are
at
publicly
war,
available.
and you need
Put
to
it
know who your
simply,
enemy is.
They explain their methods so others could check their work. Our evidence has never been refuted, only ignored. 2 Clark County technical employees came forward completely
scripture
independent of
real
each
quick.
other and explained that they discovered that the number of votes recorded by voting machines and stored on USB drives would change between the time the polls were closed
Right,
at
this
night
is going
and
to
when
the
they
book
were
of
reopened the next
Psalms, the
morning.
83rd
In
chapter,
other words, votes were
right?
literally
And we starting
appearing
at the 3rd
and
verse.
disappearing in the dead of night.
All right.
When we attempted to verify the integrity of these
The book
voting
of Psalms,
machines, we were
chapter
allowed
83,
only
verse 3.
useless visual
They
inspection
have
of
taken
outside
crafty
of the
counsel
USB
against
drive.
thy
We
people
were denied
and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Prove that they voted to receive raffle tickets,
Slack,
gift
yeah.
cards, televisions, and more.
Now,
Our determined team verified these irregularities without any of the
If
tools
you
of law enforcement, such as grand
are
juries,
not
subpoenas, or
in
FBI agents. Instead, we had less
the
than a
truth,
month to
and
use
you are
the
not in the
elbow
ISUPK,
grease
you may
to compile our
you may
evidence.
not understand what it
We tried to
means when it
obtain
says
testimony
the name of
or documents
Israel
from Clark County officials that they
being
instructed
cut
and
off.
stonewalled.
That is
Filed
talking
suit,
about
state officials and even courts delayed proceedings for days,
to
then
us.
offered us merely hours.
Our name was not cut off from them. They know who we are. They continue that. They know who we are, and that's why they keep us where they keep us. But for them to do that, they have to cut our heritage off from us. They have to cut our name off from us. Right? We cannot remember that we are Yasharallah. Right? We cannot remember that we are princes of the power. Right? And because we have to feel like we have no power. We have to feel like our history began in slavery. Right? This is why this country can function, because we will not we do not understand where we are or what situation we're in. All right,
Mr. Krebs
keep
also
reading.
served in various roles of the department.
Verse
responsible for a
5.
range of
They have
cybersecurity,
for they have
information,
consulted
and national
together
resilience
with
issues.
one consent.
Prior to coming
They
to
are
DHS,
confederate
he
against
directed
thee.
U.S. cybersecurity policy for
Verse 6. The
Microsoft.
tabernacles of Edom
Mr. Krebs also served
and
in
the
administration,
Ishmaelites
advising
of Moab
leadership
and the
on
Hagarenes.
international risk
See,
management, as well as on
and this is
public-private
so
partnership
perfect.
initiatives.
Right,
Mr.
this
Krebs
verse
was
is
back.
these verses are so perfect because first off,
Chairman Johnson,
you know, it's showing you exactly who your enemy was then
Infrastructure Security Agency,
and who your enemy is
this is a
today.
job of a lifetime for me,
Right,
and a tremendous opportunity
nothing
to serve the nation.
changed.
When I sat before this
The
committee
Edomites
in 2008
have had our foot on our neck
commission hearing,
as long as they
imagine how
possibly could.
challenging and rewarding
They've had their
the job
foot
would be.
on our neck and have
That's why it's such an honor
controlled
to appear
everything they
before
could because they've
today
hated us since
and
in the
testify about
womb.
the extraordinary
Right?
efforts of the
And the
Election
Ishmaelites. Like,
Committee
this
to
is
the 2020 election.
this is who.
difficult
If you want to
task
know who runs
created
any
by the
business in
ongoing
any
global
Black, Hispanic, or Native
Before I
American
get into the
community,
substance of my
it's
remarks,
in this
I'm grateful
one
to the
verse.
committee. and your leadership and your guidance
right?
over the last several years.
The Ishmaelites,
in shepherding
Arab,
probably the best of the 100 bills.
I was just talking to one of my ribs today.
Your efforts
she was telling me
the CISA authorizing
about somebody trying to open up a soul food restaurant, right? And she said, yeah, but them Arabs got it locked down. What you mean?
Give our citizens the confidence that their vote was counted as cast.
Oh, them Arabs got the big, like a big soul food restaurant, and they got all the business. So you mean to tell me,
when I rejoined the
in the black neighborhood, in the middle of the country,
America had just endured a broad attack on democracy.
In a southern town,
documented interference campaign by the
that all of the soul food restaurants are ran by Arabs. The gas stations that serve black people, they fried chicken, is ran by Arabs. The beauty supply stores and the hair and nail spots are all run by Moab. Like wait. But they don't even have, they got dog hair. What they got hair care products for? What they got these hair care products for? Why they, the Haggerines, the Africans, they doing your hair, they doing your braids? Oh, they where you get all your soap because they from the motherland. Right, you work, and truth be told, we worship all these people. Right? Because the first thing we do is raise our kids in what the Edomite religion, Christianity. But then when they get a little tired of that, then they run over to the Ishmaelite community, the Ishmaelite religion, right? Then they so they want to be, not they Muslims, right? Not want to be Muslims. And then after that, I don't believe in none of that. I'm just sitting myself and meditate. Oh, you run into that Buddhism. Because that's what you aligning your chakras and your kundalinis, and that's what you into. Oh, you going straight to the Moabites religion? Oh no, you done with them, right? You done with them, so you just go back to your people. You want an African religion. These are all the religions we find ourselves in. Every one of them, named in this one verse. These are all of the people oppressing you right here, named in this one verse. This is our people. For those people who continue to have a doubt that this Bible is talking about the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
2020, government and industry
the only people it is discussing, the only people who are facing these issues,
reflecting a consensus perspective
and
that the 2020 election was the most
have been oppressed consistently by these people are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And that is why we are the ones who need to be reminded we are at war.
Strong operational relationships developed across the
and not only that we are at war, who our enemy is and who our allies are.
Under the thoughtful guidance of this
right?
committee,
because that for far too long, that has been where we have gone off the rails.
It was based on
right?
intimate
we know something ain't right. We want to fight. We want to rebel a little bit. We want to try to get some freedom, right? But then who do we ally with? We ally with the same people who are oppressing us. Right? We ally with the same people who are going to do nothing but make us their servants from then on out. And one thing, that our people need to realize is in the ISUPK, under Commander General Yohana, is the only place where you become a first-class citizen.
Past service. And by the way, I think
right, everywhere else, joining these other religions, you are always and forever a second-class citizen, period. When you go into Islam, you are second class to the Ishmaelites. When you go into Christianity, you are second class to the Edomites. And you want to know how you know? Because you look at so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American Christianity, and then look at the Edomite Christianity. Right? The Edomite Christianity tell them that if they have someone attack them, not to turn the other cheek or invite them into back into their church to hold hands and maybe we can pray with them a little harder next time. No, when the Edomites get an attack from outside of their nation, they respond in kind. They overwhelm their enemy with the exact same thing that they came at them with. The Biden campaign, those Arabs put 3 planes in the buildings.
We're not even going to
right?
dispute the things I just brought up to you. But instead,
this country spent the next 20 years blowing up everything that they ever thought they were building. Everything that looked like them died. It was people over there fighting and dying
as Chief Justice Rogan-Sack,
who were
dissenters,
not even alive when the Twin Towers fell. That is what white Christianity teaches them to do.
Second, the Wisconsin Election Commission is a bureaucratic organization.
But that is what white Christianity teaches them to do, right? It only teaches you as a second-class citizen to be a servant. Why? Because that's what second-class citizens do. In Buddhism, you are second class to the Asians, right? In Islam, you are second class to the to the Arabs. Why? Because that is their religion, that is their God, and that is the way it will always be. But you have your God, and your God is telling you to leave them alone, because then He'll fight for you. Then He'll actually stand up on your behalf and get you out of the situation you're in, right? And these days, these high holy days are meant to remind us of those things. They're not just, see, when you talk to an Edomite about their holidays, most of them change up their meanings every 2 seconds, and most of them don't even have any idea why they do what they do, right? In here, our high holy days have a meaning. Right, there's a purpose for them. It's not just for you to go drink and have fun and kick it with your brothers and sisters. That is all perfectly fine and well to do, right? There's nothing. There's no law against having fun and drinking, responsibly, and kicking it with your brothers and sisters. But we must remember why we are here. Right, we must remember why these high holy days have been commanded by the Most High God, and this again is in Leviticus. Right, this is in the law. Right, you are commanded to do these things.
Mr. Trumpets is talking about the law that he was arguing before the Wisconsin Supreme Court was basically ignored. You had a similar statement that it wasn't that the information that you presented to the committee, it was never rebutted. It was simply ignored. Can you talk about that?
Again, back to
yes,
the specific
Chairman,
trumpets, right? So again, we did blow trumpets in celebration, right? So we would blow them coming back from war. We would blow them. They would be blown at the wedding feast, things like that. But again, especially a trumpet, right? A trumpet was very rarely actually used as a musical device, right? We had harps and things for that, right? But these trumpets were made to alert people. They were announcements, right? They were alarms, right? These weren't, when you heard a trumpet, you were meant to look, right? It wasn't just something to dance to. It wasn't something that we played like that, right? It was meant to grab your attention and bring you in.
Mr. Krebs, I've obviously, you've testified here on
and
this
again,
specific issue.
That's why the Most High commands our people to our people who become priests to go out there and to not only prophesy about what will happen to our people, but also prophesy against these nations, right? Because not only does the Most High tell us what's going to happen to us, and so why we should follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, but He also has told us what's going to happen to our enemy, right? What's going to happen to those who oppress us, right? And it is the job of a priest and a prophet to go out there and to raise that alarm, right? This is what you have coming in your future. All right, that is our job.
Yes, sir, that was the joint,
and also to tell our people. That is the most important part, is alerting our people.
Okay, one of the reasons I've always
and bringing in the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That,
all right.
To my knowledge, it's almost impossible to change the vote tally by hacking into these computers. Was based on the fact that these things are not connected, and most of them don't even have the capability of being connected to the internet. Based on all these allegations people are talking to, it sounds like some of these machines, or certainly the tabulators, can and are connected to the internet. So can you just kind of explain to me what, again, the whole voting machine, tabulation, internet connections is just a huge, confusing mess. Can you speak to that?
So I think it's important to step back and actually look at how votes are cast in the country, particularly with paper ballots, and that regardless of any internet connections, regardless of any foreign hacking, as long as you've got the paper receipt.
Okay, but let me stop you there. I acknowledge
So,
that, yes, the paper
going to the book
backup
of Romans,
is the control.
chapter 6,
if it's used.
and
That was going to be my next question. So
verse
set
4.
aside the control of the machine process. What is capable? Again, I kind of want to know on what basis, what aspects of this is the most secure. Because when you listen to
Romans
Mr. Trumpets,
chapter
Mr.
6,
Canal,
verse 4.
There was fraud.
Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life.
Right. So
if these machines are
we have to.
or if in the
So this is talking about how Christ. How we, by following this doctrine, right, by living this word, right, have put away that old man, right, that like Christ was raised up physically by the Most High and given glory. So we should all walk in that newness, right? What it's saying is, with what this lesson is about, is that we need to get rid of those old habits that we've built up and start coming back to following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, and to start to walk as Christ walked, right? Our people claim to be Christians, right? They claim to be followers of Christ,
but some
right? That is what what Christian is supposed to mean, right? Nowadays, it just means a believer in Christianity. That's two different things, right? If you follow what Christ did, you would do what Christ did, right? And Christ went out there to wake up and to find the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He said that very plainly and very clearly, right? So we have to start walking like Christ. We have to start doing the things that Christ did and carrying ourselves the way Christ carried himself. Christ was an austere man, but he still had, he still, talked to his brothers. He still had people that he that knew him and loved him. And here's the thing: if you're a tyrant, then you don't have that, right? That wasn't what he was. He wasn't just walking around with a chip on his shoulder all the time. No, but he was serious about the things that needed to be serious about. He was serious about following these laws, statutes, and commandments. He was serious about his people being together, about joining his people together. And in fact, you can tell that even by what his enemy said, right? With the Pharisees, when they said, I'm paraphrasing, of course, if we let him keep talking, he go draw all men to him. Like we allow him to keep speaking, he's going to draw all. And of course, the only men they were worried about was Israel. He was going to draw all of Israel to him. Well, why is that? Because he was on it about living these law, statutes, and commandments, right? He was not just about, appearing to be righteous. He was actually about internalizing righteousness, where it's not something that basically it's like what you would consider muscle memory nowadays, right? When you're talking about a physical act, right? When you do it so often that you don't even have to think about doing it anymore. It's just a movement. Like if somebody were to hit you and you just naturally just throw the perfect jab. It wasn't, I was trying to jab you in the mouth and knock you out. That wasn't what you were trying to do. It was muscle memory, because that's how you react in that situation, right? So Christ was showing us how to make it so that the law was so much a part of us that we didn't even have to think about doing it. We just did. Like what I say about with the way you see some of these higher ranking officers and these captains and these generals talking, they will just talk. And they will just talk. And there's a scripture for everything they just said, but they're so used to giving counsel and going over these scriptures and living this word day in and day out for years that is not even something they have to think about most of the time anymore. It's just how they are. It's just, this is what they do. This is how they speak. Of course, what he said was just backed up by a scripture, because that's all he's been speaking for 5 years now. What else do you expect? Right, and that's what Christ was coming to show us, right? Christ was coming to show us how to live that way, right? And why is that? Because that is what the Most High is telling Israel that we need to be, right? That's what Israel was always supposed to be, and we need to be that for this war that is coming up. Because here's the thing: Saul failed because he wouldn't kill all the enemy. He saw one of the was it the king of Amalek, and didn't want to kill him. The Most High ordered him to wipe out every man, woman, child, every piece of cattle, tear down their crops, burn all their linen, like anything they ever created, destroy it. But he wanted to let one of them live.
He said, "Don't even take any spoil." Didn't he?
Yeah,
he said,
no spoil.
Nothing. You don't own nothing from this place. Destroy and burn and kill everything.
And that was a simple order that he did not want to follow.
Right.
He could have followed. It would have been very easy to say, "Oh, that one person, yeah, he can die too." I don't know him. I've never met that man. So you risk the kingdom. You set up the kingdom for that. You know what I mean? And that's what we have to get to, is where Christ was, and it's just we just follow the law. Like I was telling another rib this week. He's like, "Well, you got that order. You didn't." But what about this? I don't know. What about that? I don't know. Like, well, you didn't ask. Look, I got a lawful order. So I just did it. And then what was the question for? Why question? That's where we. That's where we.
Ultimately corrosive.
That's where we as a people mess up.
The institutions,
right? Because
that support elections,
if it's unlawful, that's one thing.
The trick about elections,
if it's lawful and you're told to do it, when you start making your own decisions against a lawful command or a lawful order from those that the Most High placed above
otherwise
you,
we're going to have a very difficult time.
That is when you start to go off, right? And this is why our people need to be brought back in, right? This is what this feast is for, is to alert you, hey, you done drifted too far, right? You have to blow the trumpet because everybody's not there, right? Everybody, some people are out on the hunt. Some people are out doing this. You need to blow that trumpet to alert everyone, right? Because when an attack happened, people were living their lives, right? If you're farming, most farms happen outside of the main city. They happen outside of the city walls. And so everyone would be in the field going about their daily business. The alert was, hey, there is impending danger. Get into these walls so you can find protection, right? And that is what we're out here doing. It's the same thing Christ was doing. Hey, y'all have been outside too long, and the enemy is coming. Get into these walls. Get into this structure, this fortress, which is following the law, statutes, and commandments. Get into this fold with your brothers and sisters, because there's danger on the horizon, right?
I want to pull up scripture real quick. Give me Luke 1. And it started at 68. You know what I mean? Because what you just said was heavy. You said that
nothing that Russia or Iran or China could say is anywhere near as wild.
You know, you're saying that we're alerting our people.
End of quote.
You know, we're blowing them horns.
My question is, how are our foreign adversaries taking advantage of false
it's time for us to come together.
Election fraud,
everything you're saying.
And
you know, you're spot on.
Or hearings,
and
like we're hearing
talked about Christ and how he showed us how to do it.
That are broadly claiming systemic irregularities.
Scripture even talked about Christ being that horn.
How damaging.
You know what I'm saying? And we finna read that. Go ahead.
Talking about remote control very briefly,
the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
Okay, now, you notice that the scripture don't say everybody.
Right.
As they were emerging.
The God of everybody. They kill me when they say, oh, God loves everybody. But specifically from the front to the back of the Bible, it says the God of Israel.
Right.
Only one nation. And not those squatters in our land right now.
Damn right.
Okay. Keep going.
Verse 69.
Georgia specifically.
And hath raised up an horn of salvation.
Raised up a what?
An horn of salvation.
Raised up a horn of salvation. You know, Christians don't understand metaphor.
Right.
You understand? So they're really trying to figure out what the horn and what the salvation.
Right.
They don't know what salvation is at all. They claim to know what salvation is, but you know, just by going to listen to one of them sermons, they don't know and understand what salvation is about.
Which, by the way, is
you
precisely
understand?
why I brought that up in my opening statement.
He didn't, the Most High done redeemed, he done visited and
I just had
redeemed
to
his people.
talk about
Damn right.
Russian
You understand? Now his people are going to do
peddling
what?
it
They can start
are
returning
not on
to
my
him.
side of the aisle.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Senior
And the
Democrat
reason
leaders,
being is
including
because
Ranking Member
he has
Peters,
raised up a horn
were
of
involved
salvation
in a process of
unto
creating
his
a
people.
false
Keep going.
Yeah, right.
intelligence product that was supposedly classified. They leaked to the media.
For us in the house of his servant David.
For us
Senate
in the
and myself
house of his servant
of
David.
accepting
Talking about
and
the Israelites. They don't say
disseminating
everybody in there. It didn't say the
Russian
house of
disinformation.
Moab.
Durkash, I'd
It
never
didn't say
heard
the
the
house
person
of
tell
Ammon.
they brought
It
it
didn't
up.
say the house of
Senator
any
Peters
of the
introduced
heathens.
that
Damn right.
that false
For
information,
us,
Russian
which
disinformation,
is the house of
into our
Israel, blacks,
investigation
Hispanics, and
record.
Native Indians, and the house of
50
David.
people associated
You
with
understand?
the intelligence
Talking about
community
Judas.
during the
Keep
after
going.
our Hunter
Okay.
Biden investigation,
Verse
the
70.
revelations of the Hunter Biden
As he
computer
spoke,
said, "Oh, this
it's like
is-
as he
oh,
spake
this is
by the
Russian
mouth of his
disinformation."
holy
We find
prophets,
out
which
all
have
the
been
real
since the
investigation
world
of the Justice
began.
Department.
Since the world began,
So it's just
guess what?
galling, and I just have
They've been
to
saying
point
the
out
same thing. The prophets
that
all saying the
purveyors
same
of
thing.
Russian
Damn right.
disinformation,
Like they
Hillary
kill me
Clinton's
like
campaign,
they say
DNC, the
the
Steele
Old
dossier,
Testament don't
the
matter,
ranking
just the
member
new.
Peters
But every
accusing
last one
Senator
of them is
Grassley
saying
and
the
I
same
of
thing
disseminating
Right.
about the whole
Russian
entire Bible.
disinformation.
That there's no
That's where the
new and different
disinformation is
narrative.
coming. That's
Yeah,
where
It's
right.
the
all
false information,
hey,
the
Israel,
lies,
you
the
fell
false
off, return to the Lord.
Right.
So keep
Tell
the
him
law.
there.
and
Keep
listen
the
to
laws,
this
keep the laws, keep the law.
and say that
Yeah,
Follow
right.
the
this is not
prophets,
disinformation
follow the
that's
priests,
hearing today. This is
follow
getting
Christ,
information we have to take
and
a look
then
at
you understand, get
to
the kingdom of
restore
heaven.
confidence
That's the narrative.
in
Right.
our election
Prophesied
integrity.
about him several
We're not
different
gonna be able
times,
to just
saying
move
that
on
he's going to
without
redeem the
bringing
people.
up these irregularities,
Nowhere in any
examining them,
record did
and providing
anyone else come and do
and see
exactly
where there
what he
really are
said
problems so
that,
we can
that the
correct
Bible
it
said that
moving forward.
Christ did.
Senator
Okay.
Paul.
Mr.
You understand?
Chairman, I got to respond.
who was
You're
that they
saying
said
I'm
that
putting out
Muhammad?
information. Well, one, I had nothing to do with
Somebody
this
said that
report
it's
you're
supposed to
You
be
lied
Muhammad
repeatedly.
was the
You
prophet.
lied repeatedly in
Then
the
I
press
heard
that
the
was
prophet
spreading
hadn't
Russian
come yet.
Russian disinformation.
Okay.
That was an outright
You know,
lie,
so
and I
they
told
got
you
all
to
kind of
stop
mess
lying,
out there.
and
It's
you
just
Okay.
always somebody
Mr.
else
Chairman,
except
this is not
it's
about
always
airing
somebody
your
else except for a
grievances.
nigga.
I know what,
Right,
I don't know
Kai.
what
You
Kai,
understand?
Kai.
down
Christ,
there.
Kai,
you,
Kai.
you got to know that
Senator
Christ
Simply
was
not what we're
definitely
dealing with.
a nigga because
Judge
no, listen, it's not him.
Right.
It's not him. No, it's somebody
Senator
else.
Paul.
Kai.
You know what I mean?
Kevin,
Like,
Kevin.
that's
Senator
ridiculous,
Paul.
man. You know, like a nigga just cannot be great in this place.
Right.
Ain't that what they say? Let him be
It
great.
is what you
Let
have done to
Christ
this
be
committee.
great.
Not
Also
Let us
accusing
be
the
great
chairman
in
of
our
spreading
PK.
disinformation.
You understand?
Nothing could have been further
Let
from the
blacks,
truth, and you
Hispanics, and
spouted it
Native
again, which is
Indians
why
be
I
great
had to
then.
respond.
Kevin,
Senator
Kevin.
Paul.
Mr.
Because
Chairman.
our king said he put his
Judge
life on the
Starr,
line for that.
It's
Yeah,
been
right.
alleged that
He actually
60
put his life on the
courts
line.
have
This is
refused to
why
hear these
in the
cases,
ISPK we
therefore,
actually
there
follow
was no
what's in the
fraud
scripture because
election.
the Christians in the
I
church,
guess another way
they
of
just
looking
talk.
at this
Right.
is that the court cases have
They
been
they
refused
talk
for
a good game.
procedural,
Like, they'll make you think.
technical,
They'll actually make you think that they know
When you
Christ.
see the
Like,
60
Like
like
Okay.
they
cases
talked with
rejected,
him,
do you
walked
think
with
that's
him,
a
sat with
conclusion
him,
by our
ate with
court
him, drank
system
with him. Boy,
that,
you would
there's
really
no
think that
fraud,
they
or do you
actually
think that the court
had
cases were
conversations with
primarily
him.
rejected for
God.
procedural
You know, they got
reasons?
songs talking about Jesus on the main line.
Right.
Shit,
Yeah, right.
Well,
you
it
would
is
really
my
believe that song, boy.
understanding that
You
the
talk to
vast
Jesus, man, call
majority
him
of
real quick. I got a
these,
question.
cases
I want
were,
to ask him something. You would really
rejected
think
for
that they got Christ
rightly
on speed
stated
dial.
procedural
You know what I mean?
reasons.
You would actually
As
think that they
opposed
got
to
Christ
a
number
merits-based or
saved in that
substantive-based
Google Drive. You
evaluations.
understand? To where
And of course, we saw
and
that
back
very
up.
recently.
You know what I'm saying? To where, hey, if you lose a phone
by
or
the
get a
Supreme
new one, you
Court's
still back up your
rejection
contacts, and you got
of
Jesus
the,
right there, his numbers right
bill
there
of
in your phone.
complaint
You would
filed
really
by the
believe that
Texas Attorney
listening to
General,
them, man.
my
They
home
talk all that
state,
magical
here.
mess, but
And
nothing
the
in the
entirety
scripture.
of
Christ
the
said it
decision
himself
was
that
based upon
these hypocrites, they talk that talk.
You just don't. Texas,
you understand?
standing
with their
to
mouth
object
and their
to
lips,
what
but their heart is
happened
far
in
from it.
Wisconsin
The only
or
men that you
Pennsylvania
actually
or
see
whatever.
serving the Lord,
And
they stop
that is
smoking
a
the
reasonable
weed and the
ruling.
cigs and the crack and the heroin and
those who
and
would
whatever
quarrel
else,
with
other
it,
drug you
in
like to be on.
that
Stop being alcoholics
we
and
are
whores
a
and
United
whoremongers.
States of
That's here in
America, and if
Ashby.
something bad happens
You
in
understand?
one state, that
Stop
ends up having
celebrating
an effect on
holidays.
another state.
Like you
We have
can
such
kick it
respect
by a gift
for
You can have a family gather. Like, that don't make sense to me. You can do that whenever you feel like it.
Right.
You can do whatever you feel like it. Like, why is it so important to celebrate the slave masters' holiday? You know, in the books that we got, they were sitting back looking at the slave masters celebrating the holidays and having so much fun.
Look at this and
Eating
understand what
good
courts
food
are
and
saying and not
drinking
saying.
and passing out drunk. And guess what? The slaves wanted to do the same thing.
Right.
And so they turned around and they started letting the slaves celebrate the holidays. Giving gifts, exchanging gifts, making gifts and selling them. The master would buy them from the slaves and then sell them to other people. It was worth so much damn money, he couldn't. That's all the master know about is money any damn way. So he ain't passing up no opportunity to get paid.
Right.
So he would see your fine baskets and gifts. Because, you know, like, for instance, right there on Page, you know, Page and Union, that house right there, they always sell Easter baskets and stuff like that. Now, I'm not with, you know what I'm saying, the holiday. But the point I'm making is, we've been doing this stuff since slavery. You understand? We've been making baskets and clothes and selling things, items, food, and all of that since slavery. Since we've been a people, for real. You understand? Since we've been a people. And they turn around and see that and take it, and they say, "No, we ain't gonna pass out on it. I'll sell this to Bob." You understand?
Right.
And make me about $20. Got buy from you for $1. They've been doing that. You understand? That's why they got China hooked on it right now. China worked all day long for $2.
I think there is a
and then they sell these toys and things over here for $30.
In light of
you know what I mean? Like crazy. So I mean, our oppressor man, white man is the devil. White man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. But us, the Lord, the Most High raised up our King, Yahweh Christ, as a horn of salvation for us. You understand? For the house of David. You understand? Which he come from. Christ come from the house of David. You understand? He is one of David's descendants. You, if you are black, Hispanic, and Native, you are David's descendants as well. And that's what we need to be worried about, is who we are kin to. Not who we think we kin to, trying to be African. Because guess what? If you're African, there's no salvation for you.
Right.
The scripture clearly says who salvation is for. So if you African over here in America and you getting mistreated, guess what? You still gonna get mistreated. It's gonna continue because there's no salvation for you. If you think you are an Arab, then guess what? There's no salvation for you either. If you think, oh my God, who thinks they are American? Who thinks they are white? It ain't even no salvation for them either.
Right.
And you gotta understand this. The salvation, that horn of salvation, is on. Matter of fact, read that one again. Read that one again, in case they miss.
I don't have an opinion on that specifically.
Book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel.
The Lord God of Israel, man. And you know something? Ever since I came into the truth, boy, I done held on to that. God being only our God. You understand what that means?
God of God.
You understand? I know you understand, but you
God of God.
I know you hear it. So you definitely understand. But do you not understand what that means to where you only have a God? I think about everything that the Christians and white people and everybody else say. You know, and of course they say these things to rock us back to sleep.
Right.
You understand? That's all it is. It's, God loves everybody, and you know, God is for everyone, and you know, stuff like that. That's a damn lie. If he was for everyone, he would not have picked out one people specifically and said, "I am yours and yours only."
Right.
It wouldn't be in the Bible. If that was the case, that comes from your pastor. They don't come out the Bible.
That's right.
And we're reading out the New Testament, right?
God of God.
Yeah, this ain't the Old Testament. You know, they like to play that.
Right.
He's the same God of the Israelites in the Old Testament, and he's the same God of the Israelites in the New Testament. Nothing changed. Go ahead.
But Christians love to say, well, he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore.
Come on.
So, okay, so what about the Old Testament? It's a different one.
It's different.
He changed his mind.
Amen. It took for Commander Junior Hannah, General Hyman, You understand? General Haas, General Katham, General Cabal, you understand? General Mayak, General Shalimar. It took for them men, you know what I'm saying, to show me the difference in the Christian lies, the Christian doctrine, the Christian dogma, and the absolute truth. You understand? And when you know the difference between the lie and the truth, you have no problem with rolling with the truth. I know sometimes it's hard, man, excluding the one person that you have been madly in love with over 500 years. You have been madly in love with your oppressor for over 500 years.
But if you're
you have been in a sick love affair. You're like an abusive relationship.
Kind of kind.
You understand? To where this person punches you in your mouth and you say, well, he loves me.
A lot of people on our side.
He blacked your eye and you say, but he loves me. I know he loves me.
Well, there was no problem in the elections. I don't think
kicks you in your stomach. You pregnant. And kick you in your stomach. But I know he didn't mean it. He just had a rough day. You know, we always find an excuse for them. And we find even more excuses to love them more.
To our witnesses,
instead of leaving them the hell alone. Instead of separating from them. Christ wasn't about you coming together with your enemy.
Right.
Christ wasn't about you coming together with the oppressor. Christ came to free you from him.
Damn right.
You're looking at free men in the ISBK. We're not slaves. We're not being oppressed by the oppressor. Guess what? And it's for you too. You can feel the same way that we feel. I got so many brothers, man, that I grew up with that still will not drive in certain areas because they scared.
Okay.
Because they scared.
With all due respect, the American
man, I go anywhere the hell I feel like. Hate when the cops pull me, I get pulled over. I get pulled over something, and I hate it when I do. Look, I turn around, I have more attitude with the police than they do with me. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you pulled me over for nothing.
Right.
Number one. And then when you get all my information, okay, well, have a nice day. You just had to stop me because I'm a nigga. You understand? You just had to stop me because I'm black. And I know that. Because I know I'm legit. My paperwork is straight. So I ain't got no problem giving you anything you ask me for. As far as license, as for I ain't finna jump out and run. I ain't leaving my goddamn truck nowhere.
Right.
You understand? Hell no. You know, I got the insurance. You ain't finna get no ticket out of me. Unless it's a bogus one. You understand? Because they will do that. Okay, they'll give you a bogus ticket, but my stuff is straight. You know, and SK Commander General Hunter had, man, when he put that order out, I was like, well, thank God I'm already in line. You understand? Because he said, look, it don't make sense to give our oppressor, and I know I'm kind of running off, but it don't make sense to give our oppressor any more money than what we have to, man. When he said that, I was like, this man is truly a goddamn leader.
Right.
You understand? Down to a goddamn seatbelt ticket. He don't want you to get one of those. But everybody else, they don't care. They don't have no structure, no order, no protocols, no one over anyone. It's just everybody for themselves. And that's not how a nation is run.
Right, it's Salakia, but that again is all in line. It was going off, but it's still in line because that is what you, like you were saying, is needed for a nation, right? And the fact of the matter is, our people don't realize that they're at war because they don't realize that they are a nation in the beginning.
Right.
To be at war with somebody, you got to be a nation against another nation.
Right.
We don't look at it, and that's why it says to so that the nation of Israel will be no more remembrance. Us as a nation is not anywhere in our remembrance. That's why we're so quick to say, we're African American, because we want to belong to a nation. We want to belong to something that is great. When we don't, and our oppressor, he has spent trillions of dollars making sure we don't realize that we are already great without them. We are greater without them than they could ever imagine to be. And that's why when you look in history, every empire, every great empire has been built on us as slaves. What they are afraid of is the nation that we build when we're free together. Because you get a whole lot. When the black man feels like he's working for himself and he owns something, he works different.
Right.
You know what I mean? He built different. You know what I mean? So We built some of the most glorious nations in the history of the world, knowing they wasn't ours, knowing we didn't own them, knowing we had nothing coming from this. They are afraid of what happens when we get to ourselves and start to build on our own. They had a small glimpse of it in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
Small glimpse. They said, okay, we let them out off of, we let the physical shackles off of them. Let's see what happened. 60 years later, we got a community that has surpassed them by hundreds of years.
Damn right. Damn right.
60 years. That's why they say, nope. No. We can't let them get together. This is why they have to keep us apart. Because once we start to internalize our economy and only lean and depend on ourselves, they look like hobos and bums around us. That was the people in Oklahoma, Tulsa's problem. Because the so-called black people made the Edomites look like they were the slaves. Look like they were the ones who just got out of captivity. You gotta just imagine that. Like you think of these people as less than dirt, and then all of a sudden, wait, they got airplanes. They got an airport. They had their own. They had 6 planes in their own airport. They 6 planes in their own airport when there were only 7 airports in the country.
Well, we ain't nothing though. We ain't nothing. Niggas ain't nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
And wetback, they ain't nothing. You understand?
Nothing out of work.
Come on, man.
And that's why
Redskins ain't nothing.
Kind of the kind.
We had our own. Come on, finish up.
We had our own kind of kind. We had our own everything.
Damn right.
In overabundance.
Damn right.
It wasn't just we had 1 or 2 planes. We had almost as many planes as there were airports in the country. In one small town.
A conspiracy.
Doctors, lawyers. You don't get a whole hospital of doctors out right in one generation after slavery if you are some type of normal people. Like they know who we are and they know who they keep oppressed, and that's why they have to keep us oppressed.
Damn right. And Salak, if I could, I mean, boy, you bringing out something heavy. That's why I'm trying to hold back. I ain't want to interrupt you.
Go right ahead, otherwise.
And you know how I get when the spirit move me.
You
understand? But what you bringing out is excellent, man, and heavy because, like you said, we had our own everything, man. Our own movie theaters, our own everything in this, and it wasn't just this one community.
Kind of the kind.
This was just the top.
Kind of the kind.
You understand? This was just the biggest one, but we had our own community set up every single where we was at.
Kind of the kind.
And we was doing good in our own communities. But this one was the top. You know, this one had every damn thing that you could imagine. And me and the sister, shout out to Sister Aisha James, the founder of the Taste of Black St. Louis. You understand? This sister turned around, and now there's 2 here now. Taste of St. Louis. One with with the good white folks they set up, and then one that this sister set up, right?
Yeah, right.
The Taste of Black St. Louis, and this sister, I met one of her organizers, and this sister actually included us in her. She made me one of the sponsors.
Yeah.
You understand? Had just met her, just had a decent couple of conversations with the sister, and she said, "No, you finna be a sponsor." You understand? And this event here is going down September the 10th, 11th, and 12th. This Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 noon to 9 p.m. At the City Foundry, right up at Vandervenner and Forest Park. And this sister here, me and her was just having this conversation because now anytime you try to do anything for yourself and for your people, they are coming to try to stop you. So now here it is, the week before the event. Now they throwing all these blocks in her way, right? And me and her, we talked about it, and she was telling me what was going on. And I'm encouraging the sister to keep going this and that. We having a decent conversation about it. And I said, man, anytime we do anything to try to better ourselves as a people, and try to do something on our own, they coming in to try to stop it. And she said, "Oh yeah, they doing it now. They didn't try to stop this and that, and all types of things they trying to do to her, shut her down." The week before the event. No one but the devil would do that.
Yeah, right.
When she scheduled this thing a whole year ago.
God.
It's been scheduled for a whole year, paid for, everything, everybody ready. Now you want to throw some blocks. Okay? And she had, she mentioned, I was about to mention it, but she mentioned the story of Rosewood, Black Wall Street, how they do, all she was going in the past. And this is one reason why. First off, I got orders by Commander Junior Hunter to never stop doing what we doing.
Damn right.
He understand to keep going, keep teaching, never sell out, never give up, right? Never fall weak and quit and drop your sword like a, you know what? You understand? But this sister here, she has said, she started mentioning that, and like I said, this is one reason why I won't stop, because our people, they know. They in the world. They know. Damn near everybody know who the devil is. You ain't got to be in the ISUPK. You ain't got to be in the truth to know that.
Right.
Our people in the world know who the devil is. Okay? And she has said it. She said, man, she said, my favorite part in that movie was when he said, you know what? That nigga got a goddamn piano. I ain't even got a piano.
Right.
And she said, the dude said, but you don't even play the piano. So let's you understand? You don't even play one. What the hell would you need with a piano? And that she said, I already know that they was gonna come. She said, I knew they was gonna do it. And she growing too. You understand? The first year, I forgot how many vendors it was, but it's been growing each and every year. More and more people are coming. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to do. We need to support our own damn business.
Right.
We need to bring black everything back.
That's right.
You understand? We need to bring black everything back, man. I ain't talking about short stopping in one or two things. Every single thing.
Damn right.
Everything in the black community need to be black.
The
damn Arabs down the street that sell the liquor, they need to be shut down.
Damn right.
Black liquor store, the one on Kings Highway.
Damn right.
That's what we need to start going to.
Poll that was done.
That's a brother that owned it.
You
understand? We need to start going to that one.
Damn right.
And stop going to that.
At that time, 32%
you know what I
of
mean?
the people.
We need to turn around chicken joints. There's several sisters and brothers around here that sell chicken.
Right.
Good old chicken too. We need to go to them and not crispy chicken at the gas station. You know, we need to turn around and bring the black businesses back. And man, when she said that, I was like, you know, it is some hope for our people out there in the world.
Right.
You know, it just gonna take situations like this. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that this sister is so far lost or she's so close to the door of coming home into the truth. I ain't saying that.
Right.
But what I am saying is that at least she realizes and she knows who her enemy is. And she expressed it. And she even mentioned
a few days
some
ago,
of the history that really happened.
Not
no stuff that nobody made up.
Do you believe
that was a real event?
Voter fraud
where they was hating on our people for simply them having and they had not. You understand? You on your side, do what you do over there. Why are you worried about what I'm doing over here?
Yes.
You know, why are you worried about the goddamn piano? Like his fellow white companion said, you don't even play piano.
Biden
but you worried about them having one. You know, mad because we drive better cars. The poorest people on the damn planet drive better cars than they do. Live in better houses, definitely decorate better than them. You understand? Definitely cook better than them. We do everything better than them. They got them old corny shows with, you know, Rehab International and all this stuff. Man, who do you think they got it from?
Damn right.
Who do you think they got the flavor from? To put the wood tile, the marble tile, the laminate, and all of that stuff. Who do you think they got it from?
That was the question.
They got it from us.
Is there a potential for a problem?
You understand? So we need to realize that our king is for us.
Now,
You understand? Us only. We are great. They are not.
election,
And we got to
all
get
kinds
back
of
to
issues have
our
come up and
laws,
said there are
statutes, and
potentials
commandments.
for
Right.
We
problems.
blow that
Everyone seems to
horn.
be
We
saying,
have these
"Move
classes.
on."
We go on camp.
The only
We
reason I
have
can think
radio
that would be
shows. We
different
doing
was because the election
everything
outcomes
that
seem to
we
be different.
do so that you
And
can
one
wake up.
side is now
Damn
saying,
right.
let's just
You
move
understand?
on and ignore this.
Not to turn around and
In
fit
my
in
state
with
on
this place.
election night,
Right.
We want the kingdom.
27 other states.
We
in
want
the
this
country,
kingdom to fall.
by that evening,
And so that we can
were
have
counting
ours.
votes.
That's
what's
right.
in the
Absentee
Bible, man.
ballots
Damn
had
right.
been received.
And that's what the Christians have been holding
There
up
was
for
much
years.
less opportunity for
Is us
accusations
getting
of
the
fraud
kingdom.
because
That's why they teach
all
you
of
all
the
that
ballots
magical
were in.
mess
Amazingly
instead of
enough,
teaching
a
you the
week
truth.
After the election
God.
was completed,
You'll listen to them
this
lies,
November,
but you won't listen to
Oklahomans were
Christ is black. I
listening
mean,
to other
you know how many
states
arguments
that
and
were
damn
saying
near
things
fights
like,
I
"We
had
don't know
with
how many more
black people
ballots
with
there
me
are left to
telling them
count."
Christ is
We
black.
had been
God.
done for a
God,
week.
God.
We and 27
I
other
had to
states
damn near
had been
throw
completed
blows
for a
on
week.
some of
That
these
gives
Christians, man.
opportunities for
God,
fraud
God.
and
For them
questions
getting
and
so damn
problems. That's
aggressive.
a
You know, they
reasonable
aggressive. They got
question
a
to
they got
ask.
a beast
It's
of a
reasonable
demon.
to be able to
Kind of
ask.
kind.
You understand?
People
Not just a
can drift
regular.
around and
They
gather
got
ballots
beast
from
of
other
demons,
people and
a
do
whole
ballot
legion
harvesting.
of beast
And in some
demons.
states,
Damn
that
right.
And they
legal
get
does that
mad
provide
when you say that they
opportunity
damn
for fraud. I think the
a
obvious
savior
answer is
ain't
yes.
black. I mean ain't
The
white.
obvious
Kind of
answer is
kind.
You understand? They
mail
ready to
a
kill you.
ballot
And we
to
almost
everyone
came
in
to
the state,
blows
even if
over.
they
Go
didn't
ahead, bro.
ask for
That's
it.
a lock it, but it's the
Does it provide
same,
an opportunity
and
for
that's
fraud,
because of the same
especially
reason why
when the
you
state
saw
did not first purge
hope
or
for that
verify
system.
those
Because
addresses,
the
and they
biggest
sent
problem and the
thousands of
biggest
ballots
hurdle
to
we got to
people
get over
that no
dealing with
longer
our
live there.
people is
I've
breaking
talked
a
to
love affair with their
residents that
oppressor.
received
Right,
multiple
damn right.
ballots at their home,
We
people
have
that no longer live there.
our people are so
That's a
blinded by their
We
love,
should at least
and they
admit
hate it when you
that's a
tell them that,
problem.
oh, you
For
just
some
love white
reason, the
people.
other side wants
Right,
to
right.
focus
They hate it
on
when you tell them that.
gotta
But the
fix
problem is,
potential
every
for
time I
problems
tell
in
you the
2016,
true facts
but in
and history
2020,
that
when there's
even they will
potential for
tell you,
problem and things that have been
I'm
shown,
racist.
everyone seems to say, move along. Let's not
How could I
discuss
hate
this.
people? God loves
There's a
everybody.
system
That's when
called
that
the
started
Eric
coming.
system
I'm just
that's
telling
in
you
place that
history.
30 states cooperate.
You
It helps
see
them
what happened to Nick
verify
Cannon when
people
he
have
opened his
moved
mouth
and
and said
they're
the
registered in two
truth about
different
history.
states.
Come
Or if
on.
they've
But
moved
but
into your
but
state,
I was
they're
just reading the
registered somewhere
story
else. It helps
from
you
a
determine if they're
from
voting in two different
Amalekite, a so-called Jewish man,
Only 30
right?
states
And he
use
was
that.
talking about how he
Other
had
states
sent
are
his
not. And even
DNA
of the 30
in
states
and
that
got
use
9
it,
different
not all of them are
results.
actually
He said,
using it.
but
They
he
literally
said
are on
he
the
said in
system,
his words, "I'm an
but they're not actually
Ashkenazi
purging their
Jew,
rolls when they
and we
know
trace our lineage
there are
back
people
to
that
the
have moved out
mountains
of their states
in
and
between
have been
France
informed of that.
and Russia."
Just this last year in the
So
Eric
he
system,
don't
they
say that
identified
they're the biblical
91,000
Jews.
people
So when I say he's not
that
the
are
biblical
registered
Jew,
voters
then
that are
I'm
dead.
racist.
91,000.
But he
that one
said
system has.
in his own history, oh, we go back to the
in the
Caucasus Mountains.
And in this conversation,
That's where he said. That's the mountain range he said. That's the region he was naming.
that people are voting at
So when I said, but see, that's the first thing we need to do. We need to break our people's love affair
So why
with
don't
their
we fix
oppressor, so they can see the truth. You can't even see the
Instead, the
truth
statement seems to be,
through
well, let's just
your love of your enemy.
Right.
And that's why they don't know that they're
42,000
the
people
enemy.
in Nevada
You have,
voted
and that's
more
what
than
we out
once,
here for. We out here to
according to
alert
their
them.
work.
This is your enemy, the
42,000
same one that's always been your enemy.
1,500
The
people
one that
voted in Nevada that
we have
were
to
dead.
convince you that the people that put you in
19,000
chains
people voted
may
so
not
they
like
did not
you.
live in Nevada,
Like,
and they weren't a
we
college
have to
student.
convince you that the people that fed your babies to alligators, they may not be the best ones for you. They don't have your best intentions at heart.
Right.
They rape your men, women, and children.
that are
Right.
non-citizens.
And we got to convince you that they don't love you.
In my state,
Like our people, this is why it's so. Our job is so difficult. And again, General Muhammad has said more than once. You know, we got plenty of space for civilians. Everybody ain't cut out for this position. Ain't cut out to be a priest and a prophet. Because our people are the most stiff-necked people that you have to deal with
Not yet,
on the
Senator,
face of
and
the
that's
earth.
extremely
I could
important.
convince an
This
Edomite
has to be- these laws
that they are
have
an
to be
Edomite
enforced. We,
and
of
that they
course,
have no chance
I
of
represent
salvation
the Trump
faster
campaign
than I can convince
campaign
an Israelite
followers. I
that
don't
they are the
can't
children of
bring
Israel.
prosecutions.
But
if we are going to enforce
it's-
voter integrity
and that's
laws,
the- and that's-
they must be
it's like
enforced, and
pulling
we are
teeth.
confident that although it
Zlaki,
takes
just
a long
like what
time to
happened
put
yesterday,
together
you
fraud
can
cases,
convince
although it
somebody
takes
and
prosecutors
show
months,
somebody
sometimes
all
even
the facts,
years,
and they
go
agree
subpoenas
that
and
the
warrants
facts that you showed them
using
were
the
correct,
FBI to
and
go
still
investigate
say,
these
"Oh,
things.
but that's still a
Once
lie."
a good hard look
But every fact
these
I
cases
just showed you agree with.
An honest look.
Yeah, but
if we do
that's
that,
that's
there
that
should be
Christianity.
charges brought.
It blocks
Because
out truth.
the
You're
ranking
gish
member brought up
galloping.
in that when you lose the principle,
but like it blocks out the truth. Just you go, you hear Charlie Brown speak, wah 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 wah.
Absolutely.
For the truth.
And you were absolutely correct about him because he didn't hear nothing that was said.
Kind of the kind.
You know, he knew at a point that he was jammed up. And he opened his mouth and spoke and said it. And then when I called him on it, that's when he, I gotta go now. Now we gotta hurry up and go. And then he comes with this PowerPoint slide that he prepared for discussion. This ain't no debate. You know what I mean? This was just a discussion. You had a question.
Who sets the law?
And you come with a PowerPoint for a question. That was so lame.
No, it was not done. Unfortunately, in Pennsylvania,
was so lame.
The governor sought to change the law.
Like we ready in season, out of season, man. Look, swords, guns. I ain't talking about stabbing or shooting nobody. I'm just saying the swords, weapons. I'm talking about is the script.
Right.
You understand? That's what we prepared. We prepared with plenty of weapons, and those weapons are the scriptures.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this guy, he wasn't. He thought he was so educated that he was going to pull a fast one over on the priest. But he couldn't.
Thank you very much.
He couldn't.
Senator Hassan.
He could not.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Thank you very much. Just want to test
like it was just ridiculous. So you right. You're right. Everything we were saying was like womp womp. He wasn't grabbing nothing.
Damn right.
You know what I mean?
And it's lucky, but it's also it's because of, like I said before, the division in our nation that this is even a problem, right? Because he has heard so much Christianity in his life that he can't figure out the truth. He can't hear the truth, right? He went from one form of Christianity to another form of Christianity to another form of Christianity.
Right.
And so now
claim he's not a Christian though. Claim he's not a Christian. But everything you said comes from a Christian standpoint, view, doctrine, dogma, lie, all of that.
God.
And will continue to help make our country and our communities.
And that's a killing part too. Like you can't even convince Christians that they're Christians when they're doing Christian things.
Right.
You attempted to tackle disinformation campaigns via the rumor control effort by CISA.
This is why our oppressor has to divide us, right? So we can have all these different doctrines and have so many people validating your own garbage.
In your time as CISA director,
your own manure that you can comfort yourself in that when it's so much easier. This is the craziest truth about the whole situation. It's so much easier just to follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Just to do what the Most High told you to do is so much easier than making up your own doctrine and trying to plug up every hole in it.
Right.
It's so much easier. Living by the ways that the Most High has already set up is so much easier than you figuring it out on your own and trying to make up which ones you're going to follow and which ones are not as important to follow. Follow them all.
Conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
Not directly, no ma'am.
You see these laws. The Most High said they were for your good. Quit asking all the extra questions and follow them. What are you talking about? You don't second guess the car manufacturer when they tell you that your car takes regular gasoline and not diesel fuel. You don't just go, well, what if I put a little bit of diesel in? You don't do that.
Right.
Because that's not how the car was built. It wasn't built to run on diesel. You're not built to run on this other garbage. You built to run on the doctrine of the Most High. You were built to run on them laws, statutes, and commandments, and that's it, and that's all.
In terms of your
you putting water in your tank and wondering why your engine don't work right, why your car is acting up.
Tackling disinformation.
And it is the job of the priests and the prophets, even when you have those false prophets out there that start yelling and start showing you the way that the Most High has instructed us. Start teaching the law, statutes, and commandments and keep going. That is what we're here for. That is our entire mission. The entire mission of a priest and a prophet can be summed up in the feast, in the memorial of the blowing of trumpets.
That is what we do. We are trumpets. And it is our job to continually blow. It is our job to continually alert these people who have this destiny, that they need to come back to their law, their laws, their law, their statutes, their commandments, because it is best for them. And that all these other people in these nations around them are not, they were not put here to be, to influence you. They were not put here to be your equal. The Most High, you are chaotic. You are all over the place. You are random. The Most High is a God of order and a God of structure. He is not the God of confusion. And everything you do is confusion. There is an order to the Most High God, and these nations were created and have a place in that order.
Even now in Michigan,
they're not to be. They're not to rule over you, but they do because you won't follow your Lord. You won't follow the Most High God. You won't follow your power. Right?
And
so it is our job as the trumpet, as the alert, as the alarm, as those watchmen who will not falter on their job and will continually go out there. It is our job to warn the people of the incoming danger. We are vigilant watchmen.
60% error rate in the machines, the election management systems. And so, again, I dug into that, and it makes the claim that then, 68% of the votes cast are therefore not dependable. And I've seen those claims being repeated on social media by the campaign, by the president. And so I wanted to understand what that was all about. So I looked at it, and in fact, it was not that there were 68% of the votes there were errors. It was that the election management system's logs had recorded 68% of some sort of the logs themselves had some sort of alert rate. And that is being used to spin that machine is not trustworthy. But the problem is
our Christian pastors, our politicians, they have failed us because they were not set up to succeed. They were not operating the way the Most High God created them to operate, and they never were. They were always set up by our oppressor to do exactly what they're doing and keeping us in the ghetto. But the Most High has men out here. The Commanding General Yohana and the ISUPK since 1969 has been set up to do this exact thing. Right?
These are Windows-based machines.
Isaiah 62, verse 6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night.
So you see the ISUPK out in all of your streets, and we do not hold our peace day or night. Every time you see us, law, statutes, and commandments is coming out. You need to get back in the street. You need to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. You need to come back to your God. Why you dealing with them people? Oh, you dating them people? Come on, come back to your law, statutes. We do not hold our peace day nor night. Your Christian pastor let everything slide as long as you go ahead and drop a couple more coins in that bucket.
Right.
Right. Keep reading.
Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence.
Keep going.
Verse 7. And give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth.
We are not allowed to take a break, and we are not allowed to let up.
Thank you so much for that statement.
Our people
Mr. Chair, I'll note that a couple of other people have gone
and
a
our
little bit over their
people
time.
are praised in this earth.
Mr. Krebs.
Our people in the position when it says Jerusalem are praised in the earth, it's not just talking about the city. A lot of times in the Bible, when it says Jerusalem, it's talking about the people, right? Until Israel is that nation that is looked up to upon this earth, the watchman cannot let up. And your Christian pastor don't do none of that. But here in the ISUPK, we gonna keep blowing like these trumpets, like these watchmen, and never holding our peace.
And this is talking about giving the Lord no rest. Don't turn around and let him lay back. Keep showing the Most High every single day. You understand? Let him have no rest. So that one day soon he can turn around and say, okay. You understand? Now is the time. You know, but when you're in the church, you got nothing but rest.
And just also in the interest of time,
you ain't doing nothing. You understand? What are you
Sadly, some of
doing
these
inside the
nonpartisan
church?
officials at the local
Nothing.
level
They
have
kill me
been
when they
subjected
turn
to
around and say,
harassment
now
and
the
even
doors
death
of the
threats.
church are
So
open.
can you speak to the
And they
impact
open the
of
door
these
to the people
threats?
that's sitting in there.
And do you think the president
Nobody
and his
outside heard
allies
anything you
have done
talking
enough
about.
to condemn the threats of violence?
You set up right there in the area where they sell all the crack. They don't know what the hell you talking about.
God.
They don't know you just invited them in. You understand? Come on, listen to the Lord.
I think it's
that's what I
again an affront to
It
democracy.
said, the scriptures also say,
Now
we
citizens of the
know
United States of
the
America
Most High
are
heareth not
responsible
sinners.
for
Right.
executing
So
this
he ain't
sacred
hearing nothing you saying. So he
democratic
At all.
institution
At all.
of
ain't
elections
nothing you saying getting up to him.
are
It
being
ain't bothering him. He ain't
on a
hearing
daily
nothing.
basis.
Now, when
You
righteous
name
men
it,
cry to the
whether
Most High
it's
God,
emails,
oh, he
whether
hears
it's
that.
phone calls, whether
Yeah,
it's
right.
people
When
showing up
those
at your
who
house.
follow the law, statutes, and commandments cry to the Most High
I know
God, he
this is
hears
not
that.
America, I recognize
So to
that.
keep it, so to
And
give
it's gotta
him no
stop.
peace
We
day
need
or
everyone
night,
across,
you got to be righteous.
The leadership
Yeah, right
ranks
up.
And-
stand
and-
up. I
and
think
outside
I
of the
would appreciate
ISUPK,
more support from
every
my own
other
party,
organization,
Republican
every other
Party,
group,
but
every
I'm
other
not backing
church,
it.
whatever
gotta
they
move
call
on.
themselves,
We have a
always
president
tells you that you can't be. So
President
you'll
Biden.
never be
We have to move on to
righteous.
these
You'll
officials
never
that are
follow the law,
Republicans in
statutes,
Georgia.
commandments outside
Brad
of here
Raffensperger,
because
Gabriel Sterling,
outside of
Jeff
here
Duncan.
they know outside of
These are
outside of
Republicans
this school
that are
it's not
putting
possible for
country
them to
over
keep the
party.
laws.
They're being
Yeah, right.
subjected to just
So that's why you need to
horrific
come in
threats
and
as a
find
result.
your
This is
place
not America.
among the men who
Well,
teach
thank you, Mr.
the
Krebs.
Most High's
Thank you,
laws and show
Mr.
how
Chair, for your
to
indulgence.
keep
Mr.
the law,
Krebs, thank
statutes,
you
and
for your
commandments of the Most High
patriotism.
God. And with that, we at the time.
Thanks, Senator Hassan. Senator Scott
Nah,
went
let's
to
see what-
vote. So
So
is
with
Senator
that,
Rosen available?
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom, Israel.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mr.
ahead, Senator.
Chairman. Good morning to all the witnesses here today.